You said that Ashton was going to join us as well.
Yes, he's here.
Hi, Ashton.
Hi.
How are
He's
you guys
shy.
doing? How's lockdown been treating you, man?
Like we have been quite the exception. In fact, we've actually enjoyed the lockdown. It's been
Yeah.
quite refreshing and a bit of an eye opener for us in terms of Ashton's condition. So
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have said they're struggling, and a lot of people's anxiety has actually manifested during this time. But for Ashton, who's had this ongoing condition since the age of 9,
Yeah.
uh, no traffic and waking up later, getting more rest, not having the
Mm.
pressure of school has actually helped him cope a lot better.
Can we backtrack to when you found got Ashton diagnosed and what the signs and symptoms were? Because I think now in lockdown, a lot of people are starting to see either things in their kids or themselves that they don't recognize. And we just want to make them aware of what some of the signs and symptoms of some mental health issues that might come up for them.
So he was in grade 2, and
Mm.
after doing exceptionally well in grade 1, he ended up like struggling through grade 2 where he was almost failing. And his
Yeah.
teachers kept saying, he's an academic achiever, but he can do better. And I was like, how can he do better when he is at the top of his grade?
Yeah.
And then the workload in grade 2 is quite intense.
Mm.
And he started displaying a lot of anxiety and stress and anger, going into a rage, that kind of thing. And his teachers asked us to go for an assessment. So it's actually not a quick thing. I know a lot of parents go, oh, you medicate your kids, everyone's on
Yeah.
Ritalin. It's not that, it's not like that. It's quite
Mm.
a long process. It took us 2 years to have him fully diagnosed. So you work with specialists, we worked with his teachers, it's questionnaires, it's blood tests, it's all sorts of things which we went through. And then we tried, holistic approach to things. We tried all sorts of other things, OT, before we actually put him onto medication.
Yeah. What is the thought process of between finding out that there is something that's not okay to actually putting him on medication? Because the kind of medication, I think, like we were talking for the last 2 days about remedial children, the kind of medication for when there is mental health issues compared to remedial is very different, and they do different things. So how do you navigate between the differences of those things and then eventually getting him on medication?
I think the first step is, especially for parents, is making peace with it. I think
Yeah.
no parent wants to hear that there's something wrong with their child. And a lot of parents continue to live in denial because it's a very hard thing to process, and you often end up blaming yourself and you go, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
So I think, the first step is getting good doctors and specialists, and you have to trust them. You
Yeah.
have to you have to block out the noise, and there are going to be the parents that are saying, oh, you're a bad mom because you're putting your kids on medication. But you
Yeah.
know what's best for your child, and working with your specialist that you trust, they guide you through this path. And
Mm.
medication, it's not as simple as there's your 2 tablets, take them,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
done. As a child grows, you have growth spurts. So the dosages change. What
Yeah.
each child needs differs. The family setup impacts that as well. So it's
Mm.
never a clear-cut thing, but lots of research. I spent hours and hours and hours of research. I had to lock out a lot of what friends were saying, what family was
Mm.
saying. There's lots of judgment because
Yeah.
everyone has perfect kids, right? Or so they think.
Yeah.
And, you look at social media and those perfect families with their perfect
Mm.
kids. I have to block out that and go, I need to do what's right for my son. And break down that wall of, I really don't care what anyone else says. If he needs the medication, then I have to try that route. And when we put him onto the medication, it was almost instant. We saw a massive, improvement in his behavior and his coping.
Yeah. You know, I find that it's so interesting that this topic is so taboo, especially when it comes to children and teenagers. But I think it's more so that people are afraid to say what they're dealing with because they're worried that they're going to be judged, or that other parents with their perfect kids, which doesn't exist, is going to have a lot of things to say. So in this time that with lockdown, you said that it's kind of helped him a lot. What are the kind of, I saw the other day you put a list of things that you have been doing actively to make sure that you keep him in line and or keep him like, how can I say, actively still busy with you guys and all that. One of the things that stood out to me was the fact that he doesn't spend a long period of time in his room by himself. What does that do for someone with mental health issues?
Well, Ashton wants to butt in here, and he has something to say about it.
Yeah, it's fine.
So regarding that, it's not good for someone with my condition to spend a lot of time alone in their room,
Yeah.
because once you get to overthinking and like you start thinking about unnecessary things, and when you're alone, you develop this bad habit that
You're almost like constantly in your head. So all that extra time is not good in a sense. So what we've done is we have a schedule, but it's a flexible sort of schedule, and we take our our routine from the day for the day from him and how he's feeling, because each day is different for someone struggling with mental health issues. So some days you wake up on a high, and some days you wake up feeling not so great. So if he's waking up and he's low energy, we'll move his his classes to the afternoon instead of the morning. And we've exercise is key. So he has to wake up, and his doctor always says, you've got to wake up, and the first thing you do is exercise until you sweat.
Yeah.
Just, endorphins going to feel better, and that is key. Exercise is key. I had to chat to him this morning because he's obsessed with exercising.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw yesterday, but I think to an extent he knows the kind of the way it makes him feel afterwards.
Yes, it definitely makes him feel good, but he's a very bad judge on how he's feeling. So he'll burn himself out. So I said, okay, you can exercise 3 times a day, but not more than that, because you can't burn yourself, but you can't exhaust yourself. You've got to use your energy to do your schoolwork.
And that goes with anything else. So like with reading or drawing, I have a bad habit of overdoing something. So I think last year was it, I burned myself out from reading.
Yeah.
And then I went to a kind of slump. And then it was with drawing now, and I couldn't anymore.
So he just once he likes something and it makes him feel better, he tends to obsess about it and then lose interest. But that normally happens with kids that have ADHD, is they tend to lose interest very quickly. So we've now broken his day up. But there's something I need to say about the schoolwork, and it doesn't just apply to kids with mental health issues. I think it applies to all kids. A lot of mums are obsessing about the amount of schoolwork that kids need to do at the moment. They are crying, their kids are crying, they're fighting. This is not adding value, and it's my opinion. So maybe a lot of moms won't agree with me, but it's not adding value to the mom or the dad or the child, because you have the situation where everyone's unhappy. With what was said on TV yesterday about the school system, they're going to water down the curriculum. It's a matter of getting your child to keep their brain active, but they cannot be sitting for 8 hours doing work, because they definitely don't do 8 hours of work in a day.
Oh, yeah. And I find that even with my kids, they work at different paces. So I let them work at a pace that works for them. Unfortunately, I got a ton of kids, so that's taking up most of my time. If it was one, it would be like, yeah, we're good for the day. But and it's all different grades, so I have to go with each one at their pace. But the amazing thing that I started to notice is that since they're at home, the two of them are really inclined to do their work. They really want to do their work. The ones that have been asking his teacher for more work. I don't know if I bore him or what, but They really like that. But then I have the other two were just like, okay, I'm done for the day. I did one thing. I don't want to do that anymore. But they motivate each other also to do different things because my kids love to read. So my baby wants to learn how to read. He's only in grade R. But I want to go back to what you spoke earlier about Ashton's diagnosis. What exactly was his diagnosis, and was ADHD included in there?
It actually started out with ADHD. So the first diagnosis was ADHD, and then and a touch of anxiety. But it manifests as they grow, especially when they hit their teenage years. And now we find kids age 10, 11 are starting into puberty. So those hormones are coming in very strong. So that plays a key a role in it. So you often ask yourself, is my child just hormonal or is it the condition? But it does make the condition worse. So over time, since he was 9, he's now 16, he's being diagnosed with ADHD, severe anxiety, severe depression, and BPD, which is borderline personality disorder. So that's a lot on our plate. So, you know, people don't often talk about borderline
personality disorder
because people are like, oh my gosh, like what are people going to think? But
they make it sound so scary.
It is. And you know what? The truth is, it is a scary condition to have. With borderline personality disorder, you've got to be so careful with what triggers that individual. So for instance, with Ashton, it's fight or flight. If I shout at him, and now tell me, find an Indian mom that doesn't shout at her kids. And his doctors have banned me from shouting or even raising my voice. I'm not even allowed to correct him more than twice. You know, you say to your kids, pick up your shoes. Pick up your shoes.
Yeah, I don't say, I scream.
Exactly.
I'm a colored auntie. Like,
So I'm not allowed to do that. So it actually takes a lot out of me because you do repeat yourself. And now I've got to see the pair of shoes, for instance, on the floor, which I've already spoke to him twice about. He's bowing his head here and smiling. And then I've got to step over the shoes and walk away and go, okay, which is hard because I'm a disciplinarian. So it's very hard for me to let certain things go. But I find that he responds better when I don't shout.
Yeah.
So I've got to let him go. I've got to literally let him go, calm down. Because if he isn't calm, the chance of him dissociating is very good. And we don't want him to transition and to another personality. So what we have to try and avoid is that he's transitioning because that's his way of protecting himself.
Yeah. Do you find that helps you become a lot more patient? Because I know, like I said, I'm a colored auntie. The patience is here. So, like, there are days when I'm just like, yesterday I was on the edge. I was like, there was a cliff. I'd be off it right now. Not really, but you know what I mean. And I'm screaming some days so much that my throat hurts. So I warned them before I came in. I was like, guys, we're not going to have another repeat of yesterday. Please, let me stay sane. But I need to learn patience where I'm not yelling at my kids either, because I mean, my eldest one is super sensitive. He is a sensitive child overall. So the moment you raise your voice, he completely retreats. He's had moments in the last month where he runs into the corner and lays on the floor. And I'm like, why are you trying to scare me or something? Like, is there something I need to address here? But I think it was more attention than anything else. But he's been doing that, so I need to kind of step back. So does it teach you how to be more patient with him and with his brother?
So I'm going to ask Ashton, have I become more patient?
Yes, yeah.
He's laughing because so when you have a child with mental health issues, you as a parent need to go for your own counseling. That is vital. So his doctors insist on it, then I go. Not as often as he goes. I'll probably try once a month. But his doctors do a session with him and me together where they guide us on how to work with each other. So it doesn't help that I've got a very bad temper and I'm impatient. And I'm like, it's my way or the highway. So it's taught me to be more patient. It's also what we've learned to do is I have a contract with my kids at the beginning of each school term.
Yeah.
So we go to a restaurant. We don't do it at home. We have a formal meeting. We set up goals, which they decide. So I've sort of handed over the power and the decision making to them to say, how do you want to rule your life? What do you want to do? Because they do need to feel empowered. You know, he's a brilliant kid. Both of them are. And I'm like, you are capable of making decisions. So tell me what you want to do and I'll help you get there. And then at the end of each term, we reassess our contract with each other, like a PMS contract that you would have at work. I have one with my kids. And I'm going, this is what you did. They're not rewarded for this, by the way. There's no money or reward for being good, because I don't feel that I need to reward my kids for good behavior.
Yeah, it just needs to be something they, you know, become adults doing.
So like, they won't get toys or money for being well behaved. I'm like, that's just being a decent human being. And going through your life, no one is going to reward you for stepping up and being a good, kind, responsible individual.
Yes.
So I try to do that with them.
I'm actually going to use that one, especially with the older kids.
You can actually check on the blog, on my blog, because I did do a blog post about the contract, and there is a bit of guidance on what I've done and how I do it.
Yeah, no, I'm going to look at it. The other thing I want to find out is, so Ashton is 16 here. We're finishing school in not so long from now. What is the plan with him studying or perhaps going on his own when he's a little older and managing his mental health on his own?
Oh, you know what? My nerves are finished just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But with mental health, you're looking at about age 23 when they finally get a grip. He's very fortunate that he was diagnosed at an early age. Like a lot of adults haven't even been diagnosed. So they function well in society, in their jobs, in their day-to-day lives, because they haven't learned coping skills. So I'm hoping that the coping skills his doctors and his specialists have given him will help him make choices. I have said when they're done with school, they need to get out of my house. Because I believe they need to be independent to find themselves. And as scary as that is, as a mom, I'm going to have to learn to let go despite his condition. I mean, we're always going to be here to support him, and I'll probably check up on him 10 times a day. But he needs to do that. In terms of what he's studying, you know, he's chosen maths and physics, but he's a creator. You know, he's a creative. So he loves art and he loves drawing and those sort of things. And that's better suited for someone with his condition to be an engineer as opposed to working in corporate and having to conform to these rules that are not, he's not going to be the person that's going to go, yes. You know, he fights back. So he's very much his mother's child. When something's wrong, he will fight the cause and not let it go, which is not a good thing, but we're working on it.
Ashton, how do you feel about having an opportunity to be able to manage your own life?
It's scary.
Oh God, he just stressed him out.
I'm sorry.
Good.
It's scary, but at the same time, I'm looking forward to it because I want to start my own life and I want to see what it's like to be on my own.
Yeah, because he's got this mom that does literally everything with them, and I think they do need a bit of space as well. Yeah. It'll be huge because, you know, if you've seen us, we do absolutely everything. I get a lot of criticism from people saying, you spend too much of time with your kids. I get that all the time. And I'm going, guys, I actually enjoy my kids. I enjoy spending time with them, you know.
And I mean, we've been together and you said to me that you enjoy spending time with your kids. And I'm like, I wish I felt like you. I honestly do. You know, there are days when I really am looking forward to it, like when they've been gone for 5 days. But most of the time, I'm just pretty independent. I'm good. Like, yeah.
But you know what it is. I don't know, maybe people don't know this about me, but I'm quite a loner. So I am not someone that trusts easily. My circle is very small, and I'm happy on my own with my kids. And as I was a single mom for quite a long time, so it's always been the boys and I, you know?
Yeah.
And that's us. I'm not close to my family. And we pretty much alone here in Johannesburg, and we do everything on our own, and we have a very few close friends.
Yeah.
So for us, this is our everyday normal, is being together and having fun together and driving each other crazy. And we do fight. We have huge fights.
Yeah, but I think it's great because especially with Ashton's condition, I mean, you were the perfect mother for him. In the sense where you identified things early and you've been able to assist him in the way that you would. I think some of us, me included, our patients only went as far. I don't know how much I'd be able to deal with because I'm already at breaking point. But anyway, what I wanted to ask you was one of the things that I was thinking about was the school. How do you explain and talk to the schools about Ashton's condition and how they need to kind of navigate around his feelings on some days?
Look, I'm that mom that takes no prisoners. So the schools are obviously like inundated with large numbers of kids in classes. They are overwhelmed. Teachers are really like in a difficult position. So I have a lot of sympathy for them. And then to have a child like Ashton in your class that requires individual attention when you've got 40 other kids isn't the easiest thing. But I do meet with his teachers at the beginning of every year, and I set it very clear. So we get a letter from his doctor. We play open cards because I'm a firm believer that if I put everything out there, then you are well informed to deal with a situation. So we, like at the beginning of the year, I met with all his teachers. I handed over a letter explaining his condition and how his doctor suggests they handle him. Make it very clear that I'm the mom that is accessible, that if you need me, I'll be there in 5 minutes, that I will come to the school if I'm not happy, that I actually understand the rules and the regulations, because it's very often that kids with especially ADHD, where they are seen as naughty, disruptive kids, and school and teachers are just frustrated and they are labeled, you know, parents even label their kids, oh, he's just a naughty kid or she's a naughty kid. He's attention. But they're missing the bigger picture, and these labels don't help. So I address all of that. I really make sure I'm that mom.
Did you look for a specific school, or did you, how did you approach the school? Because I mean, obviously he went to high school with a diagnosis already. So did you look for a specific school that was more tolerant of managing what he's dealing with? Or did you just like, okay, this is the closest school to my home, I'm going to tell them, like, since he's so close, you guys need to kind of figure out how to deal with all of the things that I'm presenting to you right now?
So when it came to the schooling, we did look at different options for Ashton, especially putting him in a school that would cater better for his needs. The one thing as a teenager is they need their friends. That is probably the most important thing for them, is their friends.
I struggle with starting over.
And he struggles with starting over. So it was like, put him in a new school, new friends, starting over, would it actually benefit him? And we gave him the choice, you know. So he goes to normal government school. I'm not a fan of private schools for many reasons, because I don't think there's a difference anymore in terms of the school fees are a hell of a lot more. And I've never wanted to be in the position to go, oh, I can't afford to pay for my kids' private schooling. And, you know, a lot of people are going to face that now with the current situation. And then take him out of that and put him in a government school would have always been a challenge. I find that the numbers have also increased in private schools. So it's much of a muchness for me. I would rather spend, and this is a very personal choice, is take that extra money and give my kids life experiences like traveling and adventure, which we can't do right now. But I'd rather spend my money there as a family connecting. Because at the end of the day, they come out of high school and they come out with the same qualification.
I must really commend you for keeping him in a government school, because I know how much more challenging it can be with what currently is going on with the GED and with the amount of students at a school. Ashton, the fact that you are pulling through as you are, man, I gotta give you big ups for that, because us ADHDers, we don't cope under situations like that.
You know what? I also think with Ashton and how we treat his condition, it's like we're aware that he has a condition, but it's not an excuse. So you know what? It's not an excuse, because when you're done with school, guess what? You go into the big wide world where there are no special classes, where there are no special rules. You with everybody, irrespective of your condition, your situation, your status. You're going to work with people from all over the place. So,
and you learn the hard way.
Yes, you got to adapt. And you can't, we can't keep putting our kids in a bubble and expecting them to come out as stronger, better adults, because we are really not always exposing them to the harshness that life has to offer.
Now, I have to commend you guys, because even in lockdown, you guys are still dealing with a lot. And I like the way that you set out your schedule. And that's why I said to you earlier, like the fact that you can't be alone for a long time really stood out to me, because for someone who has dealt with depression and has ADHD, I know how fast things can spiral out of control. And by the time we've completely lost it, it's already too late to catch us. Have you had in this time moments where you've had to really pay a lot more closer attention to how he was feeling on a particular day?
We've had in the whole, 34 days, we've had 2 incidents. So I've lost track of days. We've had 2 incidents. So the first one was the day that the first person died from COVID-19. I think it was a shock to the system, and he cried. We were watching the news. So we limit the news that they watch, but he's a teenager, so he'll watch what he wants to. But we do limit the negative news, and there's a lot of fake news out there. And the second time, what was happened the second time? Can't remember what happened, but he had a very low day. So being a mom of a child with these conditions, you really need to have your A game. You need to understand the triggers. You need to see the signs, because they can't see it for themselves, which is a tough job for me. Keeps me on my toes, because I need to be alert 24/7. I need to watch when he's not sleeping. I need to understand how Ashton thinks, function, ticks all the time, which is exhausting, but we catch him before a complete relapse. Sometimes in the past, we've had incidents where, Ashton is a cutter. We've spoken about that. And thank goodness he hasn't done it for a long time. But now he doesn't cut. He'll pinch his face. So, from one form of self-harming to another.
Pinching face is bad as long as you're not bad, as long as you're not bruising yourself. So then you're still within a level of.
Yes. So he's finding ways. It's obviously much better than him cutting. But then we see, okay, he's got a new thing that he does, and then we work on that. But it's like constantly talking to him. Or if I see, okay, he's on a low, I'll say, oh, Ashton, come sit with me. And then we'll watch TikTok or something lighthearted. I've even banned any dramatic movies in this house. They are driving. I think they're fed up of me saying we're not allowed to watch this or watch that. But I'm
that's like all that's on TV these days. Like, I want to plug my TV out.
So we're watching, lighthearted comedies. We're watching RuPaul's Drag Show, which is brilliant and it's hilarious. But there's so many life lessons in this. So we watch that, or we play games together, or I'll say, okay, you know what? The poor dog gets blamed for this. And I'll say, the dog is he's cranky today. He needs to go for a walk and play outside in the garden. And then they go and play, and then they come back and they feel better.
Okay, I want to close off, but I want to ask you, for the parents who are watching, who are not aware that they might be experiencing emotional, or how can I say, mental health issues with their children. They just think they're having tantrums or meltdowns or are naughty. What do you say the top 3 things they need to look out for, and that they may have to investigate a little further?
Sure. I don't think there's really top 3 things that you can pinpoint, because every child is different. But I think as parents, we need to follow our gut and our intuition. You know when your child is not themselves, and erratic, impulsive behavior is something to look out for. Lack of emotion control, crying for no reason, being sad for no reason. It's tough when you have teenagers because they can be irrational for any given reason at any given time.
Anything.
But if you see anything, that concerns you, rather see a doctor. There's nothing to lose by actually going and finding out. Do I need to have my child assessed? SADAF does such amazing work, and they have 24-hour counselors. So if you're unsure and you don't want to go to a doctor or speak to someone about it, then just go and get some guidance and say, this is what I'm seeing. Should I be taking it to the next step? But I wouldn't undermine what's happening with your kids, and realize that this whole situation with lockdown is exceptionally hard on them as well. Yes. They are going to act out, they are going to be difficult, and as adults we are not coping, so we can't expect our kids to be these perfect little human beings.
Thank you so much, Natasha. Before we end off, I just want to let everyone know who is watching, there is a mental health hotline that they have established during this time, because apparently they're getting a higher volume of calls every time the number of deaths goes up. So that is out there. I'll add it on a post here. But thank you so much for joining us. I know this is a very taboo topic. A lot of people don't want to talk about it because they don't want to acknowledge that it is actually happening. And I think there are more people around us that are experiencing it every day than we even realize. So thank you guys for being so open. Thank you, Ashton, for sharing your story with us. Guys, if you want to find out more about Ashton's story, it is on Natasha's blog, Fit Like Mommy. I'll post it on the video on YouTube as well. So I hope you guys have a good day. Enjoy your weekend with the kids. Can I send mine to you too?
Thank you very much, and we appreciate the opportunity. And if anyone has questions that they want to send to us that is private, they are more than welcome to drop us an email, and we'll respond to everything. And yeah, we wish everyone all the best, and we hope that they are okay during this time.